Welcome to Sew Very Easy. My name is Laura, and this cute little sewing bag is a result of this great little pattern. Now this pattern is to make this little sewing caddy. It does have some pockets on each side. It is a great size, and it has a wire form. So when that zipper is opened, there is a wire inside this bag, and that really makes it sit open so that we can get everything we need right at a glance. The bag does not fall in on itself. It sort of looks like a big bowl afterwards. And then when it's closed up, it still has a lot of space inside without that closure closing in that area. And these bags are not only fun to make, but they are really easy. I'm going to go through this pattern and make a second bag because you just never know who I might need to give one to. The cutting directions are inside that pattern, but I really want to focus today on how to put in this zipper and how to install a wire. And really, to add this wire, it's only one extra row of stitching. I do have just a plain quilting cotton, and I am using some quilt batting, an all-purpose thread. I did pre-make the handles already according to the directions, and the 2 outside pockets. That's all the pre-construction we really need to do. The bag itself consists of 2 outside pieces, and those outside pieces we're going to have the pockets be put on. We then will have the bottom of the bag. So I have that bottom, the pockets, and that main side. Those little side pieces will go on each side. So we have 4 of these side panels. So that's all the pieces we're going to need to make that outside the bag. So we get to put them together now. Sew 1/8 of an inch just to stitch these 3 edges down, and then stitch these little seams going back and forth. Do a little bit of a back stitch up at the top, and that's going to reinforce those pockets so that one big pocket will be turned into 3. Once those pockets are set on, we're going to be able to sew on this bottom piece. Now we can match those right sides and stitch a 1/4 inch. When that side's done, we're going to repeat to this side. Match up those seams and stitch a 1/4 inch. So we'll have one long piece. Once that long piece is done, we're going to be able to match up those sides so the top pieces are going to match. And we're going to do that to the 4 sides. So nothing is going to be sewn onto this bottom. That's all of the sewing we need to do. Now we're going to be able to lay this on top of some quilt batting. And I do like to use a fusible quilt batting so that I can iron this down, and now we can quilt it. When we're quilting this, we can quilt all of it, except of course where we're going to have these pockets. So we need to keep that part open, but we could quilt the rest. Now you can quilt as much or as little as you'd like, and place those handles on. And that's all in the directions. I would recommend, before you cut that excess batting off, to do a row of stitching all the way around the outside and use 1/8 of an inch stitch. That's just going to make sure that the batting and that fabric stays together. It just is going to make it easier to sew when we do get to put it together. Once that stitching's done, the quilting's done, the handles are done, let's cut off that excess batting. When we look at the finished bag, we're going to notice that there is a little space between the teeth of that zipper. That little space is what allows that bag to bend. There's no special zipper required, it's just how we're going to sew this original zipper on. So the zipper is going to go along the top, right where those handles are going to be. We're going to take that zipper, find the middle of the zipper, and find the middle of the bag. I do have that zipper so it's facing up and the fabric is facing up. And I'm going to match these right sides together. So the top of the zipper and the top of the bag, I'm just going to fold that over and match up those center marks. Now that I have that first pin on there, I have no worries about opening up that zipper. And I'm going to open it up all the way so I'm able just to work on one piece at a time. Pin that zipper edge so the edge of the zipper and the edge of the fabric are lining up. We do not need to pin that zipper all the way to the edge because on each edge we're going to take the edge of the zipper and pull it downwards. So that zipper is going to follow that edge all the way until we get to this little edge. We want to measure over 1 1/4 inches and put a pin in that zipper and in that mark. With that pin in, we're just going to take that zipper and move it out of the way. So we have this little bit of a curve, and just pin that curve down. That way it won't be in your way. So that's how the one corner is going to look. And we're going to do that to the same corner even though the zipper is joined. Measure 1 1/4 inches, place that pin in that mark, and now we can turn this into a hinge. So fold that over and just pin it out of the way. So you can see those two curves. We're going to stitch over top of that curve, keep stitching all the way down and coming straight off that curve. We're not following the curve of the zipper, we're following the edge of this fabric. I'm going to use the dark purple thread so you'll be able to see. So here's that zipper curved up, but we still did a straight seam. That zipper is lined up. We've just sort of pulled this out of the way. Once that one side of the zipper is done, zip this up, and we want to do it to the next side. Double check and make sure that you did not twist that zipper. Now we're going to be able to pin the second side into place. And we're going to do the same thing, pinning that zipper in, and in that last 1 1/4 inches, we're going to hinge that zipper over. Stitch all the way and make sure we hinge that second side. So both sides will have that space in between. Once that side's done, you can always give it a test just to make sure that it lines up and we end up with that space on each side of the zipper. Turn the bag so that we can stitch the side and the bottom. We do want to make sure that the zipper stays out of our way. Match up those edges and stitch 1/4 inch from one side to the other. We need to do that to the one side and to that second side. Just pull that zipper out of the way, match, and stitch. So open that zipper and press that seam open. Now we're going to be able to match up those edges, stitch that bottom closed on both sides. The outside of that bag is now done. And you can see where we have that space on the zipper on the one side and the space on that second. Now let's work on the lining. So we're going to fold that in half, stitch one side down completely, and on the other side we need to stitch, and then we're going to leave a 1 inch gap. Stitch down a little bit and then leave a gap. So we're going to have 2 gaps on the one side. One is where we're going to put the wire in, one is where we're going to turn the bag right side out. That's where that wire is going to go in, and then that extra opening is where we're going to turn it right side out. Finish the bottom. Now we're going to put this lining right inside the bag. Match up the side seams, match up all the top seams, make sure you keep that zipper out of the way. Now do 1 row of stitching all the way around. Once that's been stitched all the way around, we're going to be able to take that bag, turn the right sides out through that larger opening. Now when we look at those edges, we can see that we are going to have that space right by the end of that bag. So push that lining in, and now 1 more row of stitching is going to make the area where we're going to put that wire in. So be sure that that lining is nice and tight against the zipper. And then we're going to be able to stitch a 1/2 inch from that top. So we have that 1/2 inch space, and that's where that wire is going to fit through. And you will have a hole right here that should be in line to your stitching. Both of these wires are going to fit in that little hole that we left right up at the top. So we're going to put the wire in on one side, and with the same hole, put the wire in on the other side. So we're just putting that wire right through and let it lead its way. We can finish it off inside, finish the edges for the zipper, and that's all in the directions. And that is a really deep bag. Once you've made one of these little bags, you'll be tempted to make more than one of these little bags. They're great little sizes, and I know they're supposed to be for little sewing caddies, but I can think of a lot of things to put in these. And knowing that I can get more wire frames and different colored zippers definitely makes me want to make even maybe more than 2 of these little bags. I do hope this video has helped take out the mystery of putting wires in and sewing the zippers in these little wired bags. And thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and I do have a newsletter, all under Sew Very Easy. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check out that pattern, because it is definitely a cute little pattern. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.